What is your true purpose? Have you ever asked yourself your beliefs, where do they really stem from? Who gave you those beliefs? We'll be discussing what true purpose is. True purpose is not about just having a job. It's finding something that you love that truly resonates with you. It's being part of something that's far much greater than you. It's about accepting your challenges and difficulties. It's also about surrendering to things that you can't control, things that are beyond your control, people, circumstances. It's also about turning your pain or discomfort into success. It is a healthy thing to question where your beliefs come from. We are all different, raised in a different environment. Our parents, our experiences, all those things makes us different. It's important to question them and to look back at your childhood and find out what was something that made you smile, something that brings your childlike happiness. We need to look back deep down and discover this. Today we'll be exploring where our belief comes from to help each other find our purpose, and I'll be exploring my life experiences, where I came from, my childhood, how it led to the person that I am today, how some of my upbringing influences how I am as a person today. Please stay tuned till the end of the video. This is going to be a very interesting topic. You can go ahead and grab your cup of tea or coffee or whatever drink you prefer. Thank you. Hi, my name is Lilly. I would like to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new, it's a pleasure to have you, and if you're returning, welcome back. On today's episode, we'll be discussing your truth, like your beliefs, your childhood, how it shaped you into the person you are today. Ever thought all the values that you have, who told you about them? How did they come up? Is it really you? Is it what you really want to do in life? This is what we are exploring today. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I'm a mom of two. I was also working as a mental health nurse prior starting my own business. I created this platform to be a place where we can share our feelings, our thoughts, to enable us to be the best people we can be. Focusing on our self-growth and being our authentic self is essential to finding out what our true purpose is. Stay tuned till the end of this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment on what resonates with you on this topic today. It's wonderful and healthy to take time to reflect the society where you grew up. It is very healthy to question that. When we were younger, we always had this inner voice telling us this is what we want. We're not afraid to express anything. We just had this voice telling us, I want this. For example, my daughter, we went to a restaurant. She's only 3, and then she said, I want chocolate ice cream. Then she sat down like it's normal. Like she knows what she wants. She's not afraid to express. This is what we were when we were kids. We're not afraid to express. But somehow, when we started growing up, we heard these voices, like either from friends, parents, siblings, telling us this is what we are supposed to do. This is the accepted norm in the society. We then disassociated ourselves. We're just doing things because it's what was expected in the society. We're not being our authentic self. For example, when I was young, our culture, we're not taught to be our true selves. You were always afraid to express yourself. If you wanted something, you were afraid that you would be rejected. You were supposed to unconsciously solve problems on your own and come to your parents when you really can't solve them. You were just expected to be seen, not validated, and be heard on your feelings, thoughts. That really influenced me now as an adult. Sometimes I used to struggle a lot to express my feelings. I would feel I'm taking things for granted, I'm being ungrateful if I say something. For example, you were expected to have a solid career, to be an accountant, a doctor. It was like frowned upon to have jobs like to be a singer, to be an actor. What if it's something you wanted? You are disassociated with your authentic self. What you're doing now, your career path, is it something that you really want to do? You need to explore perhaps what things you really enjoyed. For example, I had to think about this because I remember when I was in school, it was in English class. We had to act this play. I really enjoyed it. I was able to express myself. I still remember it to this day. It's important to express your creativity, what you like now. Perhaps you can do it after work. It's quite fulfilling and liberating if you focus on things that makes your inner child smile. It's important to really sit down and find out what is it that brings you joy. Reflecting on your childhood to find out what's in your core, who you truly are. I like helping listen to people, what makes them who they are. It's important to find out as a child what influenced you to have the beliefs that you have now. In our culture, I find that children were not fully allowed to self-express like what they really want. Allowing a child to express themselves is essential for their emotional and psychological development, to encourage self-expression in children. It is important to have a genuine relationship with kids. They are free to express their emotions. In African culture, sometimes they tend to use physical punishment, which created a lot of fear in children, in schools as well. You were afraid to express your feelings. You're afraid if you say how you truly are, you could end up being punished for that. You learned to be quiet. This affects your emotional and physical development. When you're an adult, this will tend to come out, especially when you're in romantic relationship. In social situations, you find yourself unable to express your emotions. You feel like you'll be rejected, like you're being ungrateful. But it's important to recognize where this is coming from. This is not true. When I went to therapy, my therapist asked me a question like, do you ever tell your parents how you feel or your partner? I said I keep my emotions inside. Going to therapy made me reflect on these ideologies. I really think, where do they come from? In my life, I recognize recurring themes, patterns. Speaking to people of high authority, I used to avoid a lot of people in authority, something I used to do a lot. I wanted not to be seen. My social skills were not very good. I went to boarding schools, which was mostly girls' school. In terms of interaction with the opposite sex, I was shy because most of my life I was in girls' boarding school. I didn't speak up my feelings or thoughts because I thought I would be rejected, abandoned, or ungrateful. I went to girls' boarding schools from when I was 11 to when I was about 10 years. In these boarding schools, there was a lot of discipline. Like, we had to follow a strict set of rules. For example, we had to wake up early in the morning. It was like military school. Teachers were strict. There was physical punishment. You would get some duties you had to do in the morning. Either you would sweep the ground or you would clean the dining room. It was quite tough and rigid. We used to do like bottom 10 and top 10 in terms of academic achievement. They would call out your names of those that were in top 10 and those that were in bottom 10. It was incredibly humiliating for those that were in bottom 10. He had teachers who used a lot of mockery in front of the whole school. Education was the number one top priority. Forget about social skills. It really changed who I am about authority. And there is no self-expression to follow a set of rules. If you slipped up, didn't do things on time, you would get a punishment. I always got punishment. There was just a lot of rules for me to follow. That affected who I am now, because now I don't like a lot of rules or rigid rules. I like my freedom. One thing that particularly stands out in memory, our boarding school, we used to have this lesson called Fashion and Fabrics, to do with with sewing. I absolutely hated it. We had to make a dress, but mine didn't look anything close to a dress. It was something else. I didn't like sewing. You were forced to do it once every Friday. You had to do 4 hours in these fashioning fabrics, and I didn't like it at all. I guess I'm the only one that felt fashioning fabrics in that school. There was no uniqueness, no choice to express who you are, to say no, I don't like fashioning fabrics, but you were forced to do it. You were not acknowledged as an individual, what you really liked. That's a disadvantage of being in boarding school. In boarding school, there was limited social interaction. I was in a girls' school. There was limited interaction. But one of the boarding schools I went, we used to have soirees where we go to a boys' school for an evening. One of the schools I went for my A-levels was better in that way. But the one I first went to, it was really tough. Always been shy and vulnerable, led me to attract all sorts of people who present themselves in a particular way. I didn't look deeper into who these people are really. It affected me when I was older. Being away from my parents affected my emotional development. There was no one to express my feelings. I just had to get on with life. Feelings, put them aside, lock them in a box away somewhere. It affected my emotional development. It affected who I am, led to having feelings of abandonment, anxious attachment. In our country, going to boarding school was considered quite a privilege because education was top priority. If you were in boarding school, it meant you had access to better education, and it was more serious. The long-term impact of my childhood was that I felt quite blessed. I was just left to my own devices. I had to deal with my life, get on with it. At the same time, it developed my independence. I get along with most girls. I am okay to express my feelings with girls because I've been with lots of girls. I have lots of good friends. When I'm friends with someone, we tend to be friends for a long time. I guess it helped me in that way. I've always felt like my feelings were not seen, heard. It affected my emotional development because I was not free to make my own choices. Choices were made for me in a school, rules to follow. I never had a chance to grow up in my emotional development. That's something I really evaluated while I was finding out my past, where my beliefs came from. Awareness is very important. I did a lot of journaling therapies, which really helped me to find what's my purpose. We're going to talk about how early relationships in my life, either with people, teachers, impacted my life. One thing that affected my life is I lost my brother when I was 21. He was 18. It was quite painful because me and my brother were very close. We're less than 3 years in age difference. That was quite hard. It was when we came to the UK. When I went to therapy, I never really used to talk about it. My therapist asked me, like, why do you not talk about it? And I just say, I'm surviving. I realized that surviving is not good enough. I've always been in survival mode. In our family, my dad, that's his way of dealing with things. He would say that we have to get on with life. We have to keep on moving. We could have gone to therapy at the time. That's something we did not do at all. I thought maybe I was going to die too one day. I found that I was seeking safety in other people. I ended up being in long-term toxic relationships. I was seeking safety from someone else because I didn't feel safe inside. You often attract what you feel inside. You attract people that are not good for you. I realized I had to go to therapy and work and acknowledge having lost my brother who was dear to me. That's one thing that shaped me to who I am today. In a lot of African homes, they use a lot of physical punishment. It creates a lot of fear in children and between the children and the parents. It's something the parents learned as well from their parents. They were being treated that way. That's the way they continue to carry on. It's not very good. If something bad happened to them, the kids wouldn't come to them. They would feel like they are afraid to get rejected and ungrateful. You just had to keep quiet, no genuine emotional connection. That is the way the African homes went. It's important to reflect on things. It's like a society, non-cultural, for example, a career path, your idea of relationships. Where do these really come? I've always thought there's lots of societal pressure. When you reach a certain age, you should have kids, be married. It's not something that is said, but it's something that's just expected. It leads to a lot of girls rushing into home because they want to be married. They want to have kids. It's okay if at 50 you meet the love of your life. You don't need to rush. You just need to find the right person. Even if you don't get married, it's okay. It's about finding the right person, not sacrifice putting your dignity aside and let someone use you. Let someone exploit you, manipulate and control you, looking to be validated for some weaknesses they have inside. I feel like that's a pressure that's put on girls to get married, have kids, but it's something that's not necessary. I wish in my mid-20s I had done a journey of self-development. All the same, pain or discomfort leads to growth. I am grateful for where I am today. I guess someone that's watching this, that's in their 20s, it's time to change your mindset. Find out your purpose. Find out what resonates with you. We are disconnected from our true self. We need to find out what really resonates with us, what you really like. Everyone should be free to be their authentic self, unapologetic. Find out your true purpose. An amazing transformation, a journey of confidence, self-worth, self-growth. You'll be more of a better person, a happier person if you're following your dreams, goals, and career path. A lot of people pleasing, you're doing a lot of things which do not resonate with you, and you're always just quiet and you're just getting on with things, no matter if you like them or not. You're not your authentic self. You can only put on that mask for long. At some point, you have to be yourself. It's important to follow your own journey to what resonates with your core values, to find out what your true purpose is. It's uplifting. To encourage self-expression, I would encourage people to journal. When you journal, you ask yourself thoughts like, why do I believe in marriage like this? What is my dream passion? How was my childhood like? If you write things down, it's a form of letting go of things, and then you really assess what's the pattern. It's important to engage in conversations with friends or family. Find out how their childhood challenges, what makes those people themselves. These conversations are very meaningful, help people to discover how their childhood influences them. Our parents, they are very good examples. They've gone through challenges. To have a genuine connection with our parents, it's important to speak with them how they got to be where they are, how their childhood was like, the struggles they had, and then maybe we learn to respect, learn what makes them who they are, what shapes them, their beliefs. It's important to have these conversations. When I meet someone, I'm curious about them, why they do this way, how they grew up. I like to find out about people. Lots of information now on the internet, even celebrities, people that you admire. You can find out what they've been through, what challenges they have been through. No one ever gets things easy. Life is hard. There are always challenges. You read about how they overcame that, how they came to be who they are. It is something that's truly inspiring. So it's important to call counseling. Counseling is a great way to explore and deal with trauma, things that you would have put away in a box. The reason why you are not being your authentic self, getting involved in relationship toxic patterns. Perhaps you are living in survival mode and you don't know about it. It's a great way to vent your feelings, find out what's your true purpose, explore your childhood, what things made you happy, what things made you smile. Going to therapy can help you to understand your trauma, build your self-esteem, setting boundaries, develop coping strategies, and break the cycle of unhelpful patterns, toxic relationship, negative self-talk. I went to therapy when I was having postpartum depression. For many years, I carried weight of abuse which happened when I was a child. I had never told anyone before. I told my therapist for the first time. I felt like a huge burden was lifted off my shoulder. I had carried this secret for a very long time, like it was my fault. I was able to tell my parents about it, and it really liberated me. So I'm grateful I went to therapy. I'm okay with my failure. Everything bad that happened to me in my life, it took me to be who I am now. There is power in pain, in discomfort. Good things can come from that. Pain can force you to find out your passions, to find out your true purpose. I found out I enjoy helping people, perhaps on YouTube now, giving advice to women and perhaps men, something that gives me joy. I feel quite fulfilled. I'm grateful to be here sharing my experiences. This is not only helping me, I hope is helping someone out there who's afraid and hiding to be their authentic self. These experiences have helped me to be a confident woman. I'm not afraid to take up space, not having that sorry I'm here energy. I show up for myself. We are all unique, different DNAs, raised by different parents, different personal experience that to make us unique, and we should embrace that. It's important to find out your true path. Surrendering. I find that word really powerful. When you surrender, you accept that there are things beyond your control, like people, circumstances. If you surrender that there are certain things you can't control, you give yourself compassion to acknowledge that your childhood experiences, whether they are negative, they brought you to who you are now. It's important to embrace that. It's important to celebrate your childhood, what the negative and the positive have built you to be the person you are today. Celebrate that. Yeah. If there's anything in this video that really resonates with you, please feel free to put a comment. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this video. I'd like to thank you again for watching. Bye.